the opportunity to be here. She is actually on a plane back from India at this point, so she can't be with us this evening. However, it has been a pleasure working with Manju in the past and taking classes with her. And as you know, Manju is just a wealth of resources. And so I am very fortunate to be a part of this evening. So just getting right into it, a lot of you, I'm hoping, have found my xylophones over the past year beneficial for your situation teaching. I have been a hybrid model. I've been completely virtual. I have been in the classroom again, teaching virtually and also to the students at home. And it has been a roller coaster in some ways, but also very exciting. As I said to one of my colleagues, it has really pushed me to be super creative. And so this is one of the things that I think a lot of us are looking for, like some sort of creativity, especially at this time of the year, where maybe we might be feeling a little bit tired or like at a loss for some ideas, or maybe you want to do something for next year and plan over the summer. So just a little bit about like creativity in general. I feel like for myself, the creative adult is the child who survived or who has survived. And just because I feel like a lot of us who are elementary music teachers are like children at heart. Some of us never grow up. So this is for my ORF level 3 picture. Everybody was super serious when we were doing folk dance day, and I was given the train whistle and I took full advantage of it. So never give a music teacher, especially one who has never grown up, I guess, a train whistle. So you're all here tonight probably because you want to learn a little bit about like our virtual xylophones that I have created, or maybe you're just interested in coding itself, or maybe you're just trying to find more resources for your students. So maybe you're doing something next year where it involves STEAM or STEM, and you're trying to find some ideas for that as well. So I do love technology a lot. I am an ORF practitioner, but I do love incorporating that technology into my ORF practice. So tonight we're going to go be around into Scratch, looking at the backgrounds of it, just like creating a project, real simple ones, how I was getting those different sounds into Scratch, as well as things that you can do with my templates. So my xylophones, you can use them and repurpose them for your own activities. And then some of the other cool things that you can do in Scratch itself that I've been playing around with. Now, as the evening goes on, if you have questions, we've opened up the chat. So if you have questions, you can type them in there and other people can comment on it if you see something that you can answer as well. And we'll take questions at the very end, so you can save those. But we're going to get started with just creating our first Scratch project. Now, when I first looked at Scratch, Scratch was very intimidating to me because when you start with Scratch, and I'm going to be switching between our screens with the presentation and an actual Scratch project. When you start with Scratch, it gives you this right here, and it's just a cat. And I looked at this, I'm like, what do I do with this cat? So I had to look inside. So let's see inside here what you can actually do with our Scratch projects. When you're creating your Scratch project, you want to start, I start with the background. So I like to go into this background, and you have a couple of options. You can choose a background, you can paint a background, or you can upload, or you can do a surprise one. They'll just give you one like this. Oh my gosh, I love that one actually. But you can also upload one. So I know a lot of people have created like virtual classrooms, including myself. And if you have a virtual classroom, like picture of like a PNG or something else like that, you can upload that. And so your students might be used to seeing your virtual classroom. We can choose a background. I'm going to keep this one for now. The cat or the sprite, it's what it's called. You can keep it there if you want to, but you can remove it as well. So there you go. I'm going to remove that one. So simple enough, backgrounds and sprites. Now, I always delete that original cat, and then there are some pre-made ones in there. So let's go into some of these sprites. So a lot of times you're going to see these little things down here where it's going to show you your options for sprites. So sprite, it might be just a picture. So you can choose a sprite, and they give you a whole bunch of really neat options. But I was really disappointed when it came to the music ones because this is all I had. And I've seen this in the past with my students. They were able to like just do this with our media specialist. And so they uploaded their drum kit, for instance. So we have a drum in this magical forest. But I wanted to put in something else. I wanted to create like a xylophone. So I actually went into the paint section where I painted my own. So I just really just created my own using the paint tools and just made my bars that way. So that was a simple way of creating it. I'm gonna go back over here and delete my drum kit because I don't know, it just doesn't fit right now for what I'm going for, that aesthetic. I'm gonna go for a different one. So let's actually go into choosing one, and I'm gonna go into a fantasy one. Let's actually throw in a dragon. So this might be something applicable for you if you're doing like a story and you want to create some different characters throughout your story and you want your kids to click on maybe the dragon. But right now, if you notice, if I'm clicking on it, it doesn't do anything quite yet. So you need to add some sounds to it. So this is where the whole coding process comes in. So when we're going into coding our dragons, oh, by the way, I feel like this dragon might be, I don't know, a little bit big. So I'm going to resize it. So over here is the resizing tool. So all you have to do is put in the percentage that you want. So I'm going to put in 80% just to make it a little bit smaller. It's not like maybe a Google Doc or anything like that where you can just sort of click it and resize it easily. So they want you to resize it by using this tool. So let's add some sound into here. The sound that they gave us that automatically comes with that, the default is that magical sound. So every time you hear that, that's our dragon sound. However, maybe you want to change it out and you want to create your own sound for it. So this is where you can be creative as the teacher, or you can tell your students if you're teaching them how to code, oh, you can record your own sound for the dragon. So maybe it might sound like this. Oh, I need to press record. I am the greatest dragon in the kingdom. So now I'm going to trim this down and just, I am the greatest dragon in the kingdom. So that's a little bit like fuzzy sounding. So I could re-record it. I'm just going to save it for now. I could make it a little bit softer. So let's just. I am the greatest dragon in the kingdom. Still getting that little buzz in there, but you know, you can fix that. You can re-record that. Or you can actually add an instrument. So if you want that dragon to be some sort of instrument like a hand drum, you can just use that instead. So now that I have this, here's the fun part, is like the actual coding. Now, when you're coding, you have all these options over here on this side. And let me just go back over so that you can see it. We've done our sprites, coding the sounds. We've already pressed record and we've trimmed that, but we're going to have to click the events. I find this a little bit out of order because the way that I would like to see it on Scratch is to have the events at the very top, because I feel like that's the first thing that you want to do. So when I'm coding this dragon sprite, I want to do this one where I can click on it. So if you do, when this sprite is clicked, you can actually code it so that it makes a sound. So I'm going to look for that recording that I did. So I'm going to go over here to the sound section. I'm going to play the sound of the recording. If you had another recording, you could do that, or you could press record to re-record it. And now watch what happens. I am the greatest dragon in the kingdom. So now we have our buzzy dragon. So our buzzy dragon is now able to speak. And if you were to transfer this over to an iPad with your students, by clicking on it or touching it, it would actually activate the sound. And that's how I did it with my xylophone over here. I did it by clicking on it. And I also made sure that when you're on the iPad, you could still activate that sound. You could also do it by, let me go over here to the events, by pressing the space bar. So when the space bar or any other key in this section, so maybe you want to assign it to D for dragon, you can actually add in that same code like this. I am the greatest dragon in the kingdom. Maybe I should have made that shorter, but I just pressed the letter D on my keyboard. And so that's another way that you can code it. So you can code it according to what you need. I did it with my xylophone, as you know, with the numbers. So I just coded each one and I ran out of numbers after 0. So I just used the 3 closest letters for F, G, and A, using I, O, and P on that one. So that's the basics of the coding for the dragon. Say, for instance, though, you want to add in another character. Again, you're just going to choose that sprite. Maybe you want to put in another fantasy kind of creature. So I might use, oh my gosh, I love mermaids. Doesn't quite make sense, kind of like our drum, but we're going to throw her into this. She does seem a little large compared to that dragon. So I'm going to just minimize her a little bit. And let's see what happens when we do like 30%. A lot of this is trial and error for me. Oh, I like that size. So maybe my mermaid wants to be here. Again, you would go through creating sounds, Perfect ocean sound. She is on land, but she is bringing that ocean with her. So click your events. I'm going to click that sprite again. I'm going to play that sound of the ocean wave. I'm also going to add in a little motion with her because I would love to see her like swim around. So maybe you want to make her glide to a random position. You could do another one to wherever your mouse is or towards the dragon. She might go towards the dragon to make friends with the dragon. So you can do that too. And your kids would have a lot of fun just coding this. I had a lot of fun like coding this. So you want to specify how long she's going to travel for. So let's just make it a short one and watch what happens. I totally forgot to add in, oh, there she goes. She's gliding after the sound. So I forgot about that. If you want her to glide at the same time as the sound, you're also going to add in another event like this. Now it should move at the sound. Now, the great part about this is if you're doing some sort of creative movement in your class and you have this up on your smartboard or something else, you might be saying like, oh, we're going to travel this way across with our hands. So you can follow the mermaid. So now we can follow a mermaid. Maybe you want to do it with a different body part. So maybe you're going to take your nose and follow the mermaid this way. I smell the ocean already. And she climbed to the top of this castle. So you can have a lot of fun playing around with this just in the beginning of like the sprite, of Scratch. So you can create different things. You can move it just making your way up to the sky, by the way. So you can just have a lot of fun creating things in there. Just play around with it, have fun, let your students play around. Maybe this is an activity where you're playing around with sounds as well. So now, going back over to the xylophone, if you're like creating an instrument, maybe you want to take my instrument and you want to add some other things to this. So let's just take a look inside to see how I coded this. So with any project on Scratch, if you want to see how the coder actually did this, you can just press C inside, and then you can see what the coding looks like. By the way, I am not a coder, and I learned this all through trial and error. So I never went to a class for this. So if I can learn this, trust me, you can learn it. And plus our students do this all the time. So you can see that I've created a couple of different effects here using the orb xylophone, which I used the sound from a marimba in GarageBand. And then I changed the action or the look of it, the appearance, so that it would actually blink like this whitish kind of color by ghosting it or using the ghost effect. So I did that with all of my xylophones and glockenspiels now. Now, going back over to this, like I said, if you want to go inside and you want to explore this on your own and you create your own account, maybe you're going to start deleting some of these. So you could delete some of these bars to fit whatever you want. And I did that with my virtual bass xylophone. So I did that so that my students could actually just keep a simple bourdon or a drone on this. So they're just playing 1 and 5, 1 and 5. But because this is Scratch, there are so many really neat options in here. So I did one of the video sensing codes in here. Now, you can either play 1 and 5 using the keyboard. I find keeping the bourdon on the keyboard a lot better than on the iPad, because when you're using the iPad, it doesn't allow you to press both of them at the same time and have them sound at the same time. But this one, there might be a slight delay, so I could go in there and edit that sound, or you could click on it like this if you're just an alternating bourdon, or you could do something like this with the video sensor. It's not quite on. It really depends how you're doing, how quickly you're doing this. So let me show you what that kind of looks like. So let's see inside. The code for the sensing is actually an additional, I guess, extension. Sorry, it's an extension down here. So when you click on the extensions, they give you some other options to code. So I'm using the video sensing one. Let me go back. And when you click on the video sensing one, you can see that we have some of these other options So I use the when video motion is greater than 10, like this. You can actually have it sound. So I just pulled all of this. I copied it. And oh, let me pull it away. I actually pressed Control C. And when I did that, let me show you. Control C. And I just click over here, press Control V. It copies that code. So if you're doing a project with a lot of bars or something and you just need to do a quick copy and paste, it works the same way. So I can delete all of this as well. I can delete that block, or you can even just go through and click on them and delete them. Now, I added that to the motion. If I change this motion here, this number, it's going to affect the sensitivity of the camera. So it might pick it up. It's like this one, this G kind of picks up my hand. This one, still picking it up. I don't want it to as much, so maybe I'm going to change it to 80. So it's not always playing every little motion that it sees like that. I did find this though. Just to be aware, there needs to be some sort of contrast. So you can see my hand is a little bit lighter than the background behind me. So it needs to have that contrast there to pick it up. So now let me just make that back to 20 or so and 10. Now you can see it really picks up. So that's like a lot of fun. And maybe a class. Well, I feel like a lot of us have webcams now. I know I have like 2 of them for home and at school with my laptop. And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, what if we put these on the like smart board? Stop that one. And I'm just going to leave that. I'm not going to save it. And we created different objects that the kids can move through. So if you wanted to set up your webcam maybe in the front of the room and then have different objects have different sounds. So more of just the alternating board doing boom, 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 boom. And then sounds like this. Oh, let me try that again. That part. And then if I wanted to stop, so like the kids are moving through. Let's go to our A section. The Saturn is my stop. So I've coded that along with my rocket just to add a little fun to it. Stop it. Okay. By the way, I just realized that the sun is right over my face in there. So I have a sunny personality, I guess. Now, a couple of things. I did do that recording using my instruments. So I just recorded that A section. So maybe you're like thinking, we want to create our A section. So let's listen to the A section and you. So I just use my Saturn to stop it. And then maybe you want to hear your B section and maybe you're having your students figure out where the sections are and you play it and they have to go towards that. Stop it. And then maybe this week we're going to work on the sun's part. So just a couple of ideas out there. This applies still. Oh, wow. This is kind of like magic when I do this. This is so much fun. So that is just one of the many possibilities using the sensors. And again, it's the video sensing extension. It's right here. And you just click that and it adds it down to your other blocks. And then you can throw that in there. So I'm going to, there's the pause. And let me stop that, okay? So let me pause right there and just catch up on maybe some of the questions that are going into our chat. Okay, so it looks like people are just having fun with this. Now, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that you couldn't hear me when those sounds were going on. So I'll try to be more aware of that. Thank you for letting me know. My students do this all the time, and I'm sure this happens to you. They're like, we can't hear you, Mr. Geyer, or we can't see you. So now, just with the basics of Scratch, like I said, you can go into any of these projects and see inside. You have the sensors as well. So let me just go over to where we have our events. I'm going to skip these. These are from other presentations I've done in the past, but you can change the pitch. And I did find if you change the pitch, it's plus or minus 10 for half steps and 20 for whole steps and 120. Sorry, I believe it was 100 maybe for the octave, but I'll have to check on that again. I did that for my bass xylophone. In fact, we could actually just do it with this one. So let's go into this project. Now, some of you may have heard of Makey Makey in the past. I love Makey Makey. It's this little controller. I'll try to hold it up so that you can see it. So maybe you're doing something next year with STEAM or your STEM programs, or maybe you just want to get one of these for fun and have them in class. I know my students love this. Now, it's basically a controller that you hook in with a USB into your computer, and you hook these alligator clips over, and you can just code it. So it's basically like a mouse, essentially, or maybe a keyboard. So here, again, we're looking at the coding for our, so that sprite is clicked. And you can see for the pitch effect, I was saying how we could change the pitch. To get that octave, I went to negative 120. If you wanted to do the subcontra bass that I actually created, if you look at my projects, I did like negative 240, I believe, to get the subcontra bass sound. So with the Makey Makey, they have a Makey Makey extension over here. The one that I have is sort of a knockoff Makey Makey called Vilros. I don't think it's on Amazon right now. Let me just check. But that's a different one. I'll show you in a little bit. But it's another one called Vilros. It's very similar to it. They have a separate website. But basically, you need to make sure that you're grounded to this. So this is connected, and this is grounded. And I would be able to play it to whatever it's connected to. So for instance, tonight I'm going to be using a banana. So you might have seen this with the Makey Makey previews where they're playing it with a banana. So if I hold the banana and I touch the metal part, oh, it didn't make any sound. Let me try that one more time. Let me just see if I have to expand that. There we go. Banana's talking. So this, I'm just clicking this the earth side, or if you wanted to, you can. I'm gonna have to put the banana here because every time I touch the banana, it makes a sound. Otherwise, it just like plays multiple sounds. So I'm gonna hold this part here. Now we're doing all bananas. So I coded it so that are being played when the banana is being touched. So you can actually hook this up to aluminum foil. Play-Doh works really, really, really well. I'm trying to think, you can get really good graphite, like pencils. And then if you put it onto a paper and really rub it on and then connect the clips, it will actually pick it up through that, which is really neat. Or you can use paper clips. I believe that works too. So I'm sure a lot of people would love to do that. And your kids would love to like bring in different objects. So you can say to them, maybe during a STEAM session or even during class, let's figure out what might work. And just bring in an object today to be our xylophone. So you could do that. And maybe you don't have enough xylophones in class to do a Bourdoon, but now everybody can bring in a banana or something like that. And if you have a couple of these, you can try it out. Or maybe there's that special student of the day or the week who gets to play the banana xylophone. So there's just so many, options for this or possibilities. So that is just one of the really, really cool things that you can do with the coding. And if we look at this coding again for the Makey Makey, it's basically the same one. I'm playing the xylophone, I'm playing the pitches, I'm changing the look of it so that it has that reaction to it. And now visually the students can see it. And that's all it is. And my G1 is the same thing. The reason that it's playing is because I have two clips. So I had to make sure that the space was connected to that. So on here, there's a little part that says space. And then for the other part, it says up. So I coded this one using, oh, that one also is space, I believe. Oh, both of them are space. So you can change it that to whatever you need. But let me put my banana xylophone aside. Now, let me just go over here. So we've coded some different things. We've had other options for using the sprites, using the sensors, using makey as well. But let me go down here. There are our controllers using the banana. A lot of you might have been using my xylophones in the past for your own project in Scratch, or if you haven't done so, this is what you can do. If you sign up with Scratch, it's totally free. You can take my projects and you can remix them. So a lot of people have been remixing them. This is one with Music with Mrs. Dennis. She's done some really neat projects. And so if you look over on her project, she did The Sky is Falling for Chicken Little, and she has the kids playing the story. And while they play it, they can play this part over here. Xylophones that I created. So if we made it a little bit bigger, they can play this. So I'm just using my keys again, and she really put it out nicely. She changed the bars, which is absolutely fine. So that way she color coded each of the lines so that the kids were able to play along with our xylophone. Also, she coded the animals, which I thought was brilliant. So like I was saying, you could do some sound stories. So for instance, she changed that one to over to this snare drum, weirdo, etc., which I thought was brilliant. So let me go out of that one. And let's take a look at one of these animals just to show you how she changed change the appearance of it. So you can change the appearance. So you can see we have switched the costume to the cowbell. So where's that costume coming from? So if you look over here in the look section, you can switch the costume. So that's another coding block. And if you go into the costume section up here, basically your paint section, you can see our first one is the rooster. But then maybe you found a picture of a cowbell. So there are a lot of PNG websites out there where you can find free PNGs to use royalty free and upload them. So again, we're going to go down here, upload a picture or upload your sprite, and then you can put in your cowbell, and then you can code it so that when the sprite is clicked, oh, where did it go? It goes to our from our rooster to the cowbell. And you can play the drum. This is a really cool one too. So when we're going into our extensions, there's another section with that has music sounds. So you click on that one to add your extensions in there. You can bring in this play that instrument. And they have a whole bunch of really neat instruments, classroom instruments in here as well, congas, cowbells. And so she added the cowbell in there for a certain amount of time, for how many beats, and also for how many seconds. She wants to change the look of it. So this part right here, if you didn't do that, your rooster would stay a cowbell. So because it is only for half of a second, it's going to change back over to the rooster then, and it switches it back into your rooster. So my biggest tip is always see inside of a project. If there's something that you like and you want to learn how to code it, see what the other person has created. By the way, you cannot like take their project and then ruin it. Like they have the original template. So don't be afraid if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to remix that. And we're actually going to do that in a little bit so that you can just play around tonight with that. So it's not going to save on their account. It's going to save in your account. And in fact, if you're not even using an account, it's just going to like, you're going to get to play with the coding, but it's not going to save it at all. So let me go over here and we'll explore that in a little bit. Now, for my ORF practitioners out there, if you've taken ORF level 1 or anything like that, maybe you're just working on some Bordeaux. So I'm going to give this one to you in the chat as an example of what you might be able to do with your classes. So let me put that in there. And hold on. So this one is a poem that I found, Shel Silverstein. I love that. Shel Silverstein. It's amazing. This one, though, is absolutely so much fun. Let me go over to our chat, put this in here. There you go. Okay, great. That does work. I am a Google Meet teacher. We are a Google district, so we use that So when we're using Zoom here, it works perfectly too. Now, when you click on that little flag, you can do this where you can play along and you can listen to me in the background, or I tell my students they can tile their windows if they need to. You're just gonna play our board 6 and 0 on the keyboard like this. Okay. And while you're doing that, I will just sing our song. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Amber, for letting me know you're getting that error message, and I know exactly why. I didn't make this one shareable yet because I was saving it for tonight. Yeah, light bulb. So thank you for listening to my playing of it and my singing of it. Okay, so now it's shareable. Click on that link and you should be able to access that and you can play along with that. But this time, while you're playing it, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So once you get back into your classrooms, or maybe you are already in your classrooms, you're extremely lucky. I love playing around with our xylophones. So maybe you want to explore this. Oh, let me just angle my camera down. So maybe while you're singing the song and somebody's keeping the beat, you give them a scarf and you're just going to explore playing our xylophone during the song so that they can just see what that might sound like. And so you're drying the dishes. Maybe you want to pat it down like this. But during the song, you can have the kids just play around. This is also great if your xylophones are really dusty and you need to have the kids clean them real quickly. So this is wonderful. So keep our beat of bum, 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 bum. Keep the beat while I dry this. If you have to dry the dishes, such an awful boring chore. If you have to dry the dishes instead of going to the store. If you have to dry the dishes and you drop one on the floor, maybe they won't let you dry the dishes anymore. And I would love to see like all of my students just throwing the scarves up at the end, like I'm done drying the dishes. And it creates that beautiful rainbow of scarves up in the air in your classroom. And your xylophones are all clean now at this point. So let me put that aside for a second. Now, like I said, you can take this project and you can see inside of it. And then if you want to like modify that, you can go in, save as a copy. And now you can actually change it up. So if you want to change the bars, you might not like it in La pentatonic. Maybe you want to change it to mi pentatonic. Maybe you want to do something else. Maybe you want to include all the xylophone parts in there. You can do so. So modify for whatever you need. However, I want to show you what I did with the speech version of this. So I have a couple of ostinati in this. So why don't you say the poem with me? And we're going to snap on those words that are underlined and figure out what you might have to do here, okay? 1, 2, say it with me. If you have to dry the dishes, such an awful boring chore. If you have to dry the dishes instead of going to the store. If you have to dry the dishes and you drop one on the floor, maybe they won't let you dry the dishes anymore. Did you figure out what you had to do at the very end? So we have our triangle there. So guess what? I'm going to make this shareable now that I know it wasn't shareable before. So I'll put this link into your chat. And on all of those words that we just snapped on, you can play your triangle. Also, you can press the number 2. And I put that down here. And I actually just used this background. It was a Google slide. And once I did the Google slide, I just imported that Google slide picture into this. So I saved my Google slide as a JPEG and uploaded it. And now we can do the whole poem again. If you have to dry the dishes, such an awful boring chore. If you have to dry the dishes instead of going to the store. If you have to dry the dishes and you drop one on the floor, maybe they won't let you dry the dishes anymore. Now, there's another ostinato, or there's an ostinato that goes along with it. So see if you can figure this out with me. Wipe, wipe, wipe it dry. Wipe, wipe, wipe it dry. So say you've done this already, you've worked with the body percussion with it as well. I like to do this so that we get that feel of the guiro. So you can use it on the guiro using 3 and 4. Wipe, wipe it dry. The 4 is the up sound, like a fast scrape. This is a longer sound for the 3. And let's go on to the next ostinato. So we have 1 fell. Oh no, 1 fell. Oh no. So you had to show your expression. You can tell the students to do that. And because I was thinking, oh my gosh, what would be a great kind of like dish, something that like matches our dish? Maybe it's our hand drum. 1 fell. Oh no, 1 fell. Oh no. But say for instance, you're still virtual and you want your students to play along with it, they can just play the 1 fell. Oh no, 1 fell. So I'm going to give you a job, everybody. You get to choose actually which one you want to do. You can do wipe, wipe, wipe it dry, or you can do 1 fell. Oh no, 1 fell. Oh no. So you might want to say to your students, if you're giving them the choice, and instead of saying like, oh, this number is going to do it, you can say, okay, hold up your finger numbers if you're doing the first ostinato. And then hold up your fingers if you're doing this, or 2 fingers if you're doing the second one. 1 fell, oh no. So everybody in your cameras, which one are you doing? Which one did you choose? And you can just see if there was an imbalance, and you can say, okay, we need more people on part 2. Okay, so-and-so, Sally, you're on part 2. You can just listen if you just want to. Okay, so let's try it all together. However, I'm going to play the sound of it. So let's take a listen to that and join it with it. Okay, and you can play the instruments as well.
If you have to dry the dishes, such an awful boring chore. If you have to dry the dishes instead of going to the store. If you have to dry the dishes and you drop one on the floor, maybe they won't let you dry the dishes anymore.
Oh no.
Instruments. Let's finish doing the progress with the poem. Now let's take a little breather here so that we can see how that worked out. So going back to the coding of this, we're going to go in and take a look at the recording itself. So I put in this little button, this green button for my play button. And for the play button, let me click on that sprite so that we can see the sound. I just uploaded my parts. Now, the way that I did the parts, and this, I don't know if you're using Acapella. I use the Acapella app. I just recorded all my parts into that, and I uploaded the sound. So I downloaded the sound, and then I uploaded it. So I just separated that, and I was able to upload that into there. And then I created a stop button. So if there's a student who's like, oh, I didn't catch that right away, and they're doing this as an asynchronous lesson at home, they might press, you might need a stop button for them. So once you press the stop button, let's go back to that coding. So let's see what I did. I went back over here, I chose that event. So when that sprite is clicked, stop all sounds. That's right over here, stop all sounds, and it's just gonna stop everything. So it gives them another chance, okay? So that is just one way that you can take something that might be a poem or a song that you've done, and you wanna put it into like an asynchronous lesson for your students, or even as like a center. So if you're doing centers in school and you're back into like your classroom and they're going around, maybe you have like a center that's just doing all scratch centers and they have one doing the censor. Maybe they have one doing a song that you're working on, or maybe they're learning a new one or learning a story. So today we're going to kind of like wrap things up with this activity I created. It's called Up, Down, and Around. Let me show you the book on Amazon. So we have our book on Amazon, Up, Down, and Around. This one I love using with like little ones. So it shows like vegetables and fruits growing up and down and things that go into the ground and all around. But it's a great way for them to explore the xylophones. So when I say the word up, my students up like this. And then when I say down, all around, they can play all around. So obviously obviously you can do this on our real xylophones, or you can do it on our virtual xylophones. So in my case, at the beginning of the year, we were using these and the students loved it. I read the book and I uploaded that recording. And again, I just pressed, I created the button that says play.
Up, Down, and Around by Catherine Ayers, illustrated.
And I have the stop button again. So if I'm out sick or something and the students need to do an activity with the sub, they can go to this and they can play this on their own. And your sub is like, oh my gosh, this was the easiest day for me. This was wonderful. So you can just read any book and upload it that way. So I'm going to go in to our project in a second here, but I have a couple of vegetables around. Does it pause or return to the beginning? You know what? It does stop. It just stops all the sound. I wonder if there is a pause button. We could go in there and explore that. So let's do that. So let's go to my stop button. Here's the stop sprite. It says stop all sounds. If I go over to the sounds, it says stop all sounds. It doesn't look like there is. Okay, yeah, there's nothing that says pause. I feel like that should be something that they should include, right? So we need to write the people at MIT to do that. So let's go on and let's take a look at this. This project, I have a couple of different objects like the cucumber, my carrot, the corn, and these other ones. So I'm going to go over to my corn. And maybe you want your students to explore the sounds with their own voices. So instead of like choosing this one, I'm going to delete that for now. And I'm going to choose to make a sound. So play sound or start sound. So I'm going to start the sound. And I'm going to record it. And my corn might sound like this. So I have popcorn, apparently. And I'm trimming that. I'm saving it. And so when I click on my corn, let me go over here. Here it is. Okay, so now it should start the sound when I press that recording. See that? So I want you to try this on your own. I'm going to give you my link for this. Let me go out of here. I'm not going to save that one, by the way. I'm going to leave it. And let me find my up, down, and around activity. Here we go. So in your chat, there's a new link for you. And I'm just going to guide you through this one more time so that we can try creating our own sounds with our vegetable. You can choose whatever vegetable you want, whatever you're feeling like today. So maybe you feel like a pepper and you're spicy, or maybe you feel like the rooster and you feel like waking up everybody. We had roosters around my area when I was growing up in Pennsylvania. So lots of roosters waking me up in the mornings. Okay, so press C inside. Remember, we're seeing inside to see that coding. Click one of those sprites and look for, I don't know, whatever you want. So you can choose, except for the bars. Maybe we don't want to do one of the bars. Maybe you want to do like a carrot. So you have carrot, corn, cucumbers, potato. Oh my gosh, I forgot about the potatoes. Potatoes are so much fun. So click whatever sprite you want. Now, if you look at the coding, if you're at the part where it says code on the left, it says play drum or whatever it says, play that instrument. So click that green code block and you can either just leave it off to the side. Remember, you're not going to like ruin it. And you can delete it, press the delete button to delete it completely. Now it says when the sprite clicked, when you click it, nothing's going to happen. So you need to give it some sort of direction. So now go over to where it says sound. And you're going to click where it says play sound or start sound. Both of them work. So you can start the sound. Play sound will play the sound until it's completely done. If you press start sound, it will restart it. So it stops in the middle of the sound if it's a longer sound, and it will restart it from the beginning. So I'm going to press start sound. But if you notice, if you press on that little arrow that presses down, there's nothing there. So you can't play any sound. So you're going to record something. So record a sound for your vegetable or whatever you have. And then once you're done recording it, so I'm going to record mine. Da, da, da. You can save it. You can trim it if you'd like. Now you're on this page where if you look at mine, you can go back to the tab. you can see that we're in the sound section. So remember over here, you have your costumes, your sound, and your code. So you're gonna go back to your code, and it's not gonna sound like anything yet because you haven't given it the recording. So the recording you did, it was recording 1. You're gonna press that. And now you have something completely different. And I can just imagine your students like creating the weirdest sounds, but it would be so much fun. Or maybe you're going to have them create a different instrument. So you're going to put them in groups. You're going to say, oh, what did you come up for this instrument? Your group gets maybe the claves, the drums, and the triangle. What are your vegetables going to sound like? And during this story, you're going to play your instrument. So many ideas. I take it and run, okay? And I'm just using in this project itself, I'm using one of the pre-made backdrops. I'm using all the pre-made vegetables, and the bars are the ones that I used from my xylophone. So you can just take those and put them in as well. Now, that will be the last thing I can show you before we do the questions. So how do you get those bars into your project, you might say? Maybe you're going back to my original virtual xylophone, this one, and you just file, save as a copy, and you delete the ones that you don't need, and you change the background. So you can change the background now over here with backdrops, and you can change that to your liking. Or if you want to, let me go back over. You're going to click on one of those bars, those sprites, and if you right click on it, see how it says export? It's going to export that sprite over to your computer, so that when you are starting your new project, you can just upload it. So you can upload the sprite, and it's going to have the same coding, and it's going to have everything that you need. So it just takes that and adds it into your project. So it's really simple. So export it out. It's like downloading it and then uploading it. So that's a real simple way of doing this. Now, lastly, there are so many people out here creating amazing projects, and they've gone way beyond what I've been capable of doing. Like, I am just so impressed by what teachers have been able to do during this past year in Scratch. And I have a lot of students who are like, why are teachers doing this? This is for kids. It's okay. Remember what I said in the very beginning about us? This quote, we survived, everybody. Maybe some of us are like hanging by a thread at the end of this year, but we have survived. We've survived childhood and everything else that this pandemic has thrown at us. So have fun with the Scratch, have fun like coding if you want to. Take the projects out there, add them to the things that you have. If you look into my stuff and my profile, oh, let me go back over. Let me just change that. I actually have bookmarked some things, so you can favorite the projects that you really like. And like I have down here some of my other favorite projects, and they're great. Take those. I took some of the ones for like the sound, the classroom instruments, and I gave credit again to that person, Mrs. Knapp's Music. She did an amazing job of importing these sounds and creating them. So I use those, and I use them for some of my other projects. So I always like to give credit to those people, and so giving credit where credit's due. But yeah, take my projects, trust me, like it's out there for you. We're all in this together. So, you know, that's the great thing about this community of music teachers. I find it's like one of the most giving communities, and we're really here to support each other and our children's learning. So thank you so much. Now, if there are any questions, please let me know. We can either do it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask me. I'd be happy to address anything. And actually, I'll stop sharing for now. There we go. It's good to see all your faces. I see some familiar faces as well. I apologize if I talk really fast. My students are like, wow, that music class went really fast. Now, are there, you can put the questions in the chat if you'd like. Can you create an animated line for vocal exploration that draws in a live situation? Absolutely.
This was great. So what I'm talking about, thank you so much for doing this. This was amazing. I'm talking about like if you were to have a visual line that just moves up and down, but it actually draws itself where the kids are watching it be created, and then add vocal sound to it.
Mm-hmm. I believe there is an option in there. I saw there was a paint one, and I think when you add the movement, it draws the line as it moves. So if you remember, I created movement with the other object. I believe when you add that coding, it draws the line, but don't quote me on that. You had to like check it out and try it. As I said, trial and error.
Great, thank you.
Or maybe you're just following that object and it glides and your children are following it with their vocal exploration. You can also do another thing because that was a random point. If you remember, you can direct where that object goes. So if you put a couple of objects, a couple of sprites across the page, and you wanted to follow each of those, it could follow each of the objects. And so maybe they're going up on whoop, and they're going down to the next object ooh, on ah or something. Oh.
I think I missed did you say something about how you can like copy somebody's and then go and change it?
Absolutely.
Can you explain that again? I missed or didn't understand it.
Oh, no worries. So let me share this screen again. So say, for instance, you want to use my xylophone. If you just go over to the file section and you have to have an account for Scratch, just save as a copy and it's going to save it. It'll say copy of it. So you can just change the title of it. Or you can also remix. So the remix is you just go in and find a project and there's a little button that says remix and it remixes it as your own copy.
Okay, I just joined. So that's when after you click on the see inside?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see it now.
And you might see a remix button too.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm just trying to see, sorry for my clicking around. So for instance, if I went over to this one, this is not mine. See that remix button up here? If you press that one, you can remix it and then it automatically opens it up and it shows that person that you've remixed it. So I don't actually need to remix this one. So I'm going to delete that one, okay? Let me stop. Yeah, wait a minute. I don't know what triggers is in PowerPoint. But yeah, it's so much fun. I end up going down a Scratch black hole a lot of times. This will be great for you to just try out over the summer. Or maybe, like I said, if you're trying to come up with some sort of STEAM project or STEAM activity, we have an afternoon STEAM class, but they're looking for a lot of like fine arts kind of activities. So I've struggled in the past trying to find activities and I'm like, oh, this is perfect now. I can use all of these, especially like my banana xylophone. And like, you never know what you can do with that. Another cool thing about this, I don't know if you've used Makey Makey in the past, instead of just using the banana, you could use each other. So you could have one kid holding this one and another kid holding this one, and they can give a high five and they're going to create that sound by the contact. Oh yeah, so robotics, I'm not sure if they would be familiar with Makey Makey. They might be, or that might be something that you introduced to them. Oh, and I love the idea of using flowers. Yeah, that would be a great idea to use the flowers. And also that just teaches your students to touch them gently too. So you don't want to squash your flowers. Sometimes our students have a heavy hand. Might be a great way of teaching them how to like play piano onto their xylophones as well. Pretend you're like touching the flowers. Oh my goodness, I was just thinking that. I wonder if you put like aluminum foil around your xylophone or your mallet and you had like a couple of different things, maybe you could play in harmony with yourself. Or I don't know, I'm just thinking of the many possibilities. There's so many things that you could do. But I really do hope that these xylophones have been a resource for all of you over the past year. I know that I have used them a lot in my classrooms and my students have loved them. And also just, it really has been such a great way for me to get into Scratch. So you'll find like boom whackers out there. You'll find other things that I use constantly with my students, especially in this situation. I don't know if you're able to sing in your classrooms, but we're still doing a lot of like body percussion and instruments, virtual instruments. So this has been a great substitute for them. Oh, so to find the Makey Makeys, I believe they're on Amazon. I find they're a little bit more expensive than the one that I have. It's called Vilros, but like I said, that one wasn't on Amazon anymore. And there are a couple of other ones. There was an article I saw out there that says like make your own makey for $3, which I'm all about. So I would love to make one. And I want to be respectful of all of your time. And I just want to thank all of you for spending this evening with me. It's such a pleasure. I'm so happy that I was able to share this with you and just be together. And just a reminder, you have done enough for your students this year. I know it has probably been a struggle, but we are all doing enough. And I'm sure that your students are very lucky to have you as teachers, because the fact that you're here just shows how dedicated you are to them. So thank you so much, and for your dedication to our students. It's just changes the world. Music just changes the world. So thank you so much, everybody.